kind of standard question when I do submit somebody follow up is like, how was your time since session?
It has been interesting. It's weird because I feel that there's something that has definitely changed, but I can't quite put a finger on it. I'm a lot less like, I'm not as stressed as I was. So I'm not sure if it's kind of like, it's just a really, the whole experience has just been really, really weird for me. I mean, I think it's probably because I'm neurodivergent, so I'm processing things a little bit differently as well. But yeah, it has been headphones are dying. It has been, one of those things where I'm my stress is almost completely gone as I am able to eat now, even though it's smaller portions, but still I'm able to eat. I'm not having any digestive issues with that. So it is just like things in my body is like starting to settle down. And I know that there was a lot of work that was kind of coming up as well. And I was doing a lot of work before. So it's kind of like when I was in just at the end of my therapy, my IPT therapy, interpersonal therapy, I got Molly literally, and just at the end of it. And I remember telling my therapist, like, she's done all of the work. Like, I'm great now. And my therapist was like, actually, no, if you look back at your symptoms, like you were doing a lot of the work from before. So I think what's kind of happened is I've done all of this work on myself. I've done all of this work even with Molly, and what Molly does, and I do credit her quite a lot because she is such a huge part of my mental health shift. And it is a huge shift because I've gone from being in my head a lot to now not being in my head a lot, because I have to actually think about what is she doing? What is she getting herself into? I'm not just stuck in work anymore. I'm no longer got those blinkers on anymore. So it is just really interesting kind of navigating like what the work that we've done. And it's like my mum's actually reached out to me and I've not replied because I don't want any contacts for very obvious reasons. But I think even like now, having done that, having had that experience with the baby crying in the crib, I'm a bit like, yeah, I don't think I really should be speaking to. And it is from a self-defense thing. I know that it's me I am protecting myself at all times, but I'm always doing that. But I am also reaching out to a few people around me for support. So there's another woman who's been really influential more recently in my life. And, she's checking in on me. She's like, have you eaten? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Don't forget to call the doctor surgery. Like, don't forget to do these little things. And she has kind of picked up a little bit of a mum's role in my life. And, but it is interesting because I'm not even rejecting it, even after all of the trauma I've been through. And it's just really nice to have somebody kind of who is there for you, and it not be like a self-centered thing for them. They're just here. They're here for you, and there's no real gain. There's no, ulterior motive. It's just nice and safe. And I do think that there's a part of me that since that I've kind of just opened up quite a bit since then. And I'm able to feel this sense of vulnerability without feeling unsafe almost. So I can talk about things now, and I'm not like getting guarded, or I'm not getting really flustered, and I'm more open to I guess different types of relationships and different stages in those relationships. So it is just very interesting kind of how like all of this stuff like cumulatively this year, and then just the icing on the cake, which was the deep hypnosis that we did. It was just really interesting to see how that's completely shifted a big thing in my life, because it gave me the clarity, because there were a few things that I just couldn't understand where they were from. I remember I was like, I want to know the why behind things. And now that I do, I'm a bit like, well, okay, that makes sense. And my instincts to want to not engage with certain people and to not want certain types of drama in my life, like now I understand why. I really understand that core reason why. So I think it's incredible now, because it's not one of those things that you walk out and you're a completely changed human being, but it is something that you've there's a subtle change. There's something change like underneath the surface, like kind of deep in, but you can't quite always put your finger on it. Does that make sense?
No, this makes sense. Absolutely. So you mentioned that you are more focused, that you are not so distracted. Yeah, because of course, like neurodivers causing some level of unfocusedness, but actually very often in combination with trauma, that the big part of it is actually hypervigilance. So if we switch off
Yeah.
hypervigilance, you realize that you much easier to focus on things. That's good. And you open to a relationship and not feel threatened by relationships. That's amazing. So my one more question was that you mentioned that sleeping problems. So how is your sleep?
So I am still having sleep problems, but that's more for physical pain because I have actually, about a year ago, I had stopped taking my pain medication at night. I was trying to get off of, because I take tramadol for being hypermobile, but because I've been kind of sitting on the sofa quite a lot this year. I've been sitting down here with Molly. So because I've kind of not got that straight posture all the time and my rib cage is a lot more kind of hunched in. But then I did have a shoulder problem earlier this year as well, which I did tell you about. So that's kind of gone. Well, actually, that's not kind of gone. It's gone. So that I actually had a lump in my shoulder here. And even the sports therapist, the deep tissue massage therapist, she was like, I have actually never seen anybody with such stiff shoulders. Like, you're really stiff, like this entire area here. And no matter how much stretching I did, and I had full mobility, it was just like a there. That's completely gone. And I think what's happened now is because that's completely gone piece, my entire rib cage, where it was has been really, really tight, it's now relaxing at night. And when those things relax, it can bring some pain because it's got all of this inflammation that's kind of just been stuck there for God knows how long. So now it's a healing process. So definitely I'm aware that there's something kind of going on in my joints and that is keeping me up a little bit at night. So between like 1 and 3 a.m. is kind of like where I am quite very much awake. I'm tossing and turning most of the night. And then once I kind of get into a sleep, Molly will wake me up between 6 and 7 a.m. for her food, always breakfast. But I'll get up half asleep because I've got parasomnia. So this is the one great thing about parasomnia is that I can wake up, I can open the back door, I can go for a wee, I can literally put a food out, do some training with her, like mild training, which is just make her leave it for a minute, make her wait 30 seconds, and then she can have her food, and then go back to sleep. And I can go straight back into whatever dream I was having before because I've just kind of stayed in this lull the entire time. And it's great because it doesn't actually, while I'm physically awake and moving and doing stuff, because it's almost very light, semi-conscious sleepwalking, it doesn't actually disturb my sleep in that way. It's really bizarre. But yeah, no, she let us sleep until 11 o'clock, which is bad because I did say that the great thing about Molly was she was getting me up at 8 and I was like, got all of this energy, and now she's letting me sleep till 11. That's great because I need the sleep and she wakes me up eventually.
But if she's waking up if you're waking up at 9 after like this, that's actually good, isn't it? Because then you wake up that your body is like ready to wake up and you get the sleep you needed, and you luckily have that luxury to be able to make your arrangements.
Exactly.
The body is the best. But about 1 and 3, of course the body is healing, and I will maybe do something about it a little more, even for you to speed up that healing of that inflammation. But the one thing is that if you look from the what we calling the organs hours, I don't know if you ever heard about it, but around especially between 2 and 3, it's the kidneys, and that's when we're speaking about this energies and what we're doing. The kidneys are about emotions, clearing out emotions from the body, stuff like that. So
it's interesting that you say kidneys, sorry, because I'm actually having a kidney function test on Monday because of my chronic dehydration that I've had. So they're actually sending me in for tests to make sure that everything's working fine. So it's just interesting that you said kidneys because that's exactly what we're looking at right now in my body, trying to basically back in April, I had a really bad bout of dehydration, and I've just not been able to kind of catch up since then. So I've actually been quite dehydrated since, and I've just been trying to catch up, but I'm struggling with it. But yeah, it's just interesting that you've said kidneys, because that's the one thing that the one organ that we're kind of looking at. We're all like, okay, let's just make sure that all of these are, working.
No, kidneys reflecting our processing of emotions. So, for example, when we are really holding them in, the one output could be after the kidney stones. Like when we really like keeping on something and don't want to let it go. But also when we do start clearing that past emotions quite speed, they can be, I don't think they overwhelmed, but can be slightly irritated by that. That is like they need to process a lot of things, and the body will start healing, as you said. It will take some time. It will start flushing out all that. So yeah, drinking is important. So it's good that they will check up on that. But I know that you mentioned previously like insomnia, like trouble sleeping, but it seems that that's fine now. That is just kind of physical, and that will settle in some moment.
Yeah.
I also could help you like from physical point of view, like if you have a tendency, that crouching because of the hyperflexy, to use that kind of brace, which kind of holds.
Yeah, I do need to. I don't know if you notice, I'm like you throughout this call, I'm just making sure to just remember to sit up. Just remember to stack my ribs over my hips. And that's what I have to keep remembering to do, because it's so easy when you're hypermobile, because slouching like this feels so good. If you're hypermobile, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But sitting like this is the most comfortable, because you're all like, oh, this is so good right now. But then when you sit up like this, it's just like, oh my God, everything hurts. But this is where we're supposed to be, because your rib cage isn't being compressed. Because now I've not got anything kind of like pulling in my spine, it's all released at the back. So now my sternum can now kind of relax out a bit. That is where it's getting a bit painful, because, and I had told the doctors this, I'm like, look, I'm just having a lot of pain in my sternum where my ribs connect at the front and at the back. So it's definitely where my rib cage is kind of flexing quite a lot, and it is primarily from that whole thing being released. Because I swear, like it used to feel like it almost felt like I had a stone underneath my like a golf ball underneath in my muscle, and it was hard. Like, I'd have massage therapists basically hold my shoulder and like pull their whole weight on it, and it just won't budge. It just would not move. And then literally after that session, like 2 days later, it was completely gone. And I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I didn't really want to believe it. I was like, no, Des, that's just placebo effect. Like, what are you talking about? She kind of hypnotized you and just disappeared. And I like, no, but it really did. I am like that. I am very skeptical. So when I'm coming into these things, I'm coming in with a very open mind, and I'm willing to do the work. So I'm willing to have the experience. And then afterward, I'm like, but was it real? Like, or is it my mind that playing tricks on me sometimes? And, I'm able to kind of basically pull it apart a little bit. And it was just really interesting that I'm like, actually, no, whatever magic stuff you did fixed that. So Nancy, if you're watching, Barb is the person to fix your everything. But yes, it is really, it's very interesting what this week has been like. It's been good. It's been really good. I feel really good as well.
So did you have any occasion that somebody would like facing or something like that?
No, I haven't. And I mean, I'm kind of interested, because if it's something where I tell somebody to do it, then it won't work. So it has to be a completely natural thing. And I haven't had an occasion yet, because it's not very often that actually happens. So it will be interesting the next time when somebody ever does kind of pace up and down, in a room. And I want to see if it engages my fight or flight. But I have actually I can feel my body calmer. And I think there's a lot of change that's happened, and I'm kind of like relaxing a lot in myself. So even with work and everything else, it's a lot, like I get a lot of stimulus from my life. My life can be very, very chaotic. And it's just people around me just have a lot going on. And that is life, right? But because of the kind of person I am, it does kind of impact me almost directly, because, if something happens to my little sister in Trinidad, some people would be like, oh, well, she's away. I'm like, well, no, that's my sister. Like I basically raised that kid. And now she's got a kid who is very cute, by the way. Oh my God. But yeah, like she's got her own kid now. And it's just like, I'm constantly like how are things going? How are things going? You know, and there is a part of me that's almost with her. So, you know, I've got a lot of stuff that's kind of happening around me and within my life. And now it feels like everything is just kind of coming to a really nice settle at a nice time as well. It definitely feels like as summer is kind of wrapping up as well, as we're coming into autumn, it really does feel like a season of my life is completely changing. It is interesting because I am one of those people that I notice small changes in my life. So September is the month that I actually ramp a lot of things up because I do my best work between October and January. It is just very interesting that those months, the colder months, seem to be like the months where I kind of hunker down and I do work. And this was even in Trinidad, even when I lived in the Caribbean. So it's not a weather thing. It's not that I'm kind of perceptive to temperature or anything like that. This was actually happening when I was living abroad as well. And it's just like that time of year. And then April to May is like the months where I launch things. And it's just very interesting that I do have like that kind of pace, that kind of rhythm in my life. And it does feel like this new rhythm is kind of going, and I'm turning almost like a new year within, you know, that October phase. I kind of always say that
When is your birthday? In which month is your birthday?
Yeah, full-blooded Gemini. That's why there's two sides to me. I'm either really hyperactive or really quiet. But yeah, I do tend to feel a lot like that, where new things I tend to kind of go kind of gung-ho in September. I kind of have a good audit of my year and I go, right, so what haven't I accomplished yet? What am I going to do? What is the new, like, what am I doing? And then between October and December is really when those 3 months is really when I do some of my best work. And I kind of had this little thing because I used to be very kind of multi-religious and I kind of followed the whole pagan calendar at one point. I always say that pagan New Year is Samhain, which is Halloween. That's their New Year. That's where the old school Norse mythology, the old Celtic ways. That's their New Year. That's where their year starts. And I've always said that there's probably something that connects me somewhere there because I do tend to start my new year with at that same time. So it's just interesting kind of looking back on it in retrospect and going, oh yeah, that kind of tracks, that lines up. That's just it. And it's just in retrospect, I looked at this data and I'm like, that's interesting. You know, once or twice a coincidence every year for most of my adult life is a bit of a strange thing for it to be happening all the time.
That's interesting. It's also, you know, like by some, you know, like when we will look like from the Eastern point of view, that like when we have the birthday, we're moving to the different number in our lives, in the different influence. And so it's actually have usually that rhythm that people feel strange before, that they kind of start losing focus, like what I actually doing that months before or half months before. It's kind of like what. Then usually about 2-3 months, they kind of figuring themselves in that new energy, and then it's going up. So that's will make sense. And then it's, you know, highlights is usually about 2 months before the end of their year, how they starting with their birthday. So that's kind of also following the rhythm of you. Like if you are born in June, then July, August, it's like, okay, new energy, like what I will do with that. Then September until January.
September's a funny month, yeah.
It's that like, wow, now I'm dealing with this energy the best way. And then you're going up to your launch in, you know, April. So that's exactly 2 months before that. So you're kind of following also your numbers, which is amazing.
It's pretty cool. And this is the stuff, as I said, this is the stuff that just kind of comes naturally. It's stuff that I just, you know, I look back. I don't plan for it. I kind of just look back at my year and go, oh, that's an interesting pattern. Like, and I'll see a pattern when it's done, but it's not something that I'm like consciously planning for. You know, it just happens to work out that way. That's why I'm kind of now, I'm like, okay. So I know that my best months are coming up, which is why I'm like, right, let's get all of this energy stuff like done and dusted. And, 'cause I'm prepping for my lovely little burst of creativity for 4 months.
But that's about it, that we are all different, and we all, the main thing which we all need to be, it's ourselves, and ourselves to start understanding ourselves. And that would be maybe thing which you will start seeing even more now, is to see who you are without trauma responses, like how you actually reacting to the things, in calm way or curious way as you are, but in that openness, without that, not judgment, but that pre-reaction of fear or just unknown, like averse to something. So quite a lot of people finding slightly more about themselves, sometimes even surprising things, when they stop to having these trauma responses from people who, like big contrast, like people who wasn't going out of out of their house, they becoming public speakers, to writing the books or changing the jobs. I had one lady, she moved to the other continent and started a completely new business, to beat herself. So
I mean, I think I actually migrated to break my I guess trauma bonds, because I was just spinning and doing the same thing over and over and over each year. And I wanted to change, and I knew that something had changed. And that was when I left Trinidad. And, I left there, and in some symbolic way, because that was where my trauma happened, in a very symbolic way, I kind of also walked away from that. So that also gave me the space to then kind of make all of these other new changes in my life, which I thought was like, now looking back on it, the way that I was feeling then and the kind of changes I've made now, it is really interesting how I kind of came to that conclusion 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, even the research done between expats, I mean, the people who moved around the country, like a high percentage between 70 to 85, is people actually trying to get away. And it's mean that it's actually that flight trauma response, just like I cannot deal with that. It's like too much. I'm somewhere else. People feel that they don't belong and they cannot face it anymore. That they would rather be alone, kind of, than be in the situation where they are. But quite often people feel very different when they come after they do have recovery and they will come back. They kind of feel completely different. They feel like, okay, I'm just visiting as tourists, kind of, almost like it's not triggering any emotions and anything.
Well, that happened earlier this year as well with me when I went back to Trinidad. I wasn't triggered when I went there. I was really kind of chill. I was able to kind of reshape the relationships I had with my aunts when I went there. So, as I said, I was already doing all of this work like very early this year anyway. But it was just interesting, like now you're talking about it, like after doing all of this trauma work, and then, you're kind of, you go back and you feel almost like a tourist. And I didn't feel like, when I went there, I didn't feel like a tourist because I knew where I was going, but I didn't feel like that was where I lived. That wasn't home. It was a little bit strange. It felt really nice to come back to England when it was, I think it was like 15 degrees, and I just left the country that was in its 30s. So I was like, it's nice to be back at home where it's nice and cool and calm. But yeah, it was a very interesting kind of experience. And as you said, like trauma, especially when you move abroad and then you go back, it is interesting to kind of have that kind of experience. You're not really kind of, I guess, attached to like that particular place anymore. It's just, you just let it go. And it doesn't mean it's not a good or a bad place. It's just a place now.
You nicely use the word home, is it? Because that's actually what we define. And very important is that home is not where we grew up. Home is where we feel home. And that's what some people don't understand. But the difference, but also it's that huge difference in that, especially like people saying, are you, especially for expats and people who left for trauma, people ask them like, are you going home, or are you, when you going home? And if it's still causing in people kind of that like, I don't want to go home, that they still didn't left that. But usually if people move it, shift it as you did already, they would say like, I am home. Like, what do you mean
Yeah.
when I go?
Yeah. When am I
Like,
going home? I know. Sorry, I am home. Like, this is home. There is where I grew up. Like, and that's literally how I feel. It is how I feel. It's like I grew up there, but this is home. England is home. And in so far, like I've only moved to Suffolk less than a year ago, but Suffolk feels like home. Like I can't even explain it. I feel so connected here, and it's all of the green around me, and it's of the all of these, like I can go outside and I can just hear nothing, and it's great. It's so quiet. It's remote, but it is really quiet, and it is just really a really peaceful place to live. And this is where I've really felt, this is the first time in my adult life that I felt really happy with where I am physically. And that's huge. But I can't even explain it. It is just one of those feelings where, I now know that this is what home feels like. And I wish that for everyone. I really do. I really hope everybody finds the feeling that I have now. I hope everybody finds that, because if everybody could, then I think the world would be a much better place.
no, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because until we feel misplaced, until we feel that we are not home, then it's, of course, not feeling safe, not feeling settled, still kind of searching for something. And that's stopping our productivity, our creativity, our connection with other people, because we have feeling we want to move, so we're not connecting with people, or we feel
Yeah.
that we don't belong. So, to be told that we can feel home anywhere we are, because the home is the feeling. Home is not the building we are in it or place we are in. But I really agree with you. When I came to Scotland, I just felt like I'm home finally, and even like where I'm in Aberdeenshire, like yeah, it feels home. And actually, it was even my son before we moved. I took him over. And he has to agree with that, and he said, yeah, mom, you fit here, like you belong here. Like, I just feel it like that. So like we did move. So, and then mom saying, oh mom, I don't belong to countryside, I belong to city. So like, it's fine, come at least once per year home. It's fine. We will visit you where you are, where you feel home. So that's okay. So that is very important to have this feeling of where we feel that we are home.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we would say, is there anything which you feel that you would still kind of like to, something you question about yourself, or something?
I don't, do you know what? I actually don't have anything at the moment. I think because I'm just kind of like, I've done that one thing and it's released a whole lot. And I think that was that was kind of knotting me up. It was like final knots had to be released. And that has helped kind of open up a huge like area of my mind that I didn't even have access to before, because it was closed off. So I'm now able to relax into that. And I think with time, I probably will have loads more, because it pops up. It just goes, I'll feel something and I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Need to tell Bob, and as it does pop up, I mean, we can definitely do more of these so that, everybody can kind of see the progress over time and see how it kind of goes. But for now, I feel really good within myself. I feel really, as I said, at home, I feel really settled and I feel happy within myself, and there's a peace there. And I think that is so, so, so important, because we spend so much of our lives kind of chasing things. We chase money, we chase clothes, we chase celebrities, we chase lifestyles, we chase everything, right? And we spend so much of our time doing that, but we don't take the time to really process, what do we want as individuals? I do it because I know how important it is, for me to have certain things in my life, and I want certain things and I go get them. I wanted to live out in the countryside. I wanted to be more remote, and I found a way to make that happen. It wasn't on my own. It wasn't easy either, but I have to prioritize my wants and what I really need for myself. And I think that's really key. And I think at the moment, because I am in that transition period as well, where, as you said, breaking through all of this new stuff. And now I've got these 2 months of where I'm kind of in that planning phase. And then it will progress into, actual work within September, which will get executed in October, November, December. So, but for now, I don't actually feel anything that I don't have anything coming up at the moment. I don't have anything that's like, oh, I wonder if this, I don't have any question marks, which is really weird for me because I always have questions. I've always got questions. I'm actually just like searching for something. I'm like,
No, that's good.
I have no questions.
It's not that you're supposed to have, I'm actually very glad that you don't, because that's mean that it's the things click in, and then, when you have the questions, your mind will find the answer. So it's nothing like stuck there like that.
Yeah.
Can I make little teaser for those who are watching us?
Absolutely.
Spoke about how you spoke about this, knowing what you want and who you want to be and stuff like that. I will be publishing my challenge for people, 5 days challenge. It will be free. It will be on the Nexus, and it's calling Who Am I? And it's about really kind of start questioning these things of who I actually want to be as the person. Do I want to be generous? Do I want to be compassionate? Do I want to be living quietly or rapidly? Do I want to connect with people? Or all these kind of like questions we often not ask ourselves. We ask ourselves exactly like how much money I want to have, like setting the goals in the way of success, achievement, and stuff like that, but not so much in who I want to be. But actually that who I want to be, it's critical for achieve all these other things. And also it's quite often uncovering if we need to resolve something, because when we start saying, I want to be this, why I'm not getting there? We quite often finding that it's stopping us. Some past when we were told like, oh, you cannot be rich, or you cannot do this, or you have to be like this. And, so then it's really pointing to like, what you need to resolve. And people can choose, of course, self-help, Reddit, or somebody help them with that to resolve it quickly. So that will be available. And as you said, it will be in September, going out as working on it now in August. So that will be one which is going to follow up from this for all Nexus to have the access to find them. Start finding out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and it's so important as well, because if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to know who you are. If you want to stand for something, you need to figure out who you are first before you stand for something. How do you know if you really want to help, other entrepreneurs? You won't know that until you know exactly who you are and what kind of person you want to be and what kind of person. And it's also figuring out who you are now and who you want to be and how do you get there to get there. So yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for that.
Because it's the one other thing, like when I did that brand audit, and it's about that we asking these questions like, what my brand supposed to be? And a lot of people on Nexus are themselves branding themselves, is it? And it's very important to know who we are to be able to actually branding ourselves correctly, because it's cannot be in a clash. I cannot be my brand that it's I don't know, elegant, city sleek, posh, that if it's not me, then like I can make it like that, and then like people will meet me and just like, what is this woman doing here?
Oh, I can give you a really good example. When I started TILT Creative Agency in the UK, I went with city sleek branding. It was not me. It did not. I looked at it. I had it there for 2 weeks, and I was like, no, just no. And I created all of the animated characters for TILT Creative Agency, and that became my brand for the next 6 or 7 years. And that was who I was. It was a zoo in my mind, and that worked. It really resonated with people. It had a story behind it. It was authentically me. It's because it was authentically me, it resonated with other people as well, because they were like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I want that kind of confidence. I want that. Like, I want my own company to look and feel like that, like have that same kind of authentic, real, down to earth kind of feel. You're only going to get that if you're being authentic. But then you can only be authentic if you know who you are. Because as much as I would love to say, like, I can pull off for a short period of time the sleek branding and wear the high heel shoes and the pencil skirts with a black pencil skirt with a white crisp shirt and a black blazer and just look black and white and boring. I can do that. am I going to be happy doing it? I am definitely a jeans and t-shirts, dirty Converse, wear a hoodie kind of girl. But I can also very quite easily swap that out for a skirt. And I have that kind of flair as well. I've got a very feminine side to myself. And that is where, if you look at my branding, it does have all of those tiny little parts of me. Even my personal branding, it's got motion to it because I am a moving person. I'm not stagnant. I change things very often. I was known as a teenager to constantly change my hair color. You know, every time you saw me, it was like I had a new identity. It was one of those things. And I've always been a very active and proactive person. You know, that has definitely come out in my own branding. And you know, you have to, when you're thinking about your brand, you have to think about, you know, who you are and how does that connect to you? Because as I said, city sleek, I can kind of pull that off. But the second I open my, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work because I am too unpolished. I am too non-political and non-politically correct, actually, to be that city polished person. I do not rub shoulders with people like that and it's not because I have anything against them. It's just that we just don't gel. I am very much the everyday kind of girl next door, very laid back, you know, happy to be half covered in mud half the time. You know, I can do country girl covered in mud with the long nails and the lashes. Like that's me. I'm somewhere in between those two. You know, I can do glam horsey girl. I think that's what somebody said once. They called me a glam horsey girl. And I was like, that is very accurate, oddly specific and very accurate. But again, you have to do all of these things to figure out who you are. And sometimes you have to move country to figure that out. Don't do what I did, which was really move country and try to figure it out because it's hard. But yeah, you just, you know, got to figure things out. And it's nice that, you know, you have this challenge coming up as well at this time to try to figure out, especially when people can take that information within September, work on themselves for a few months, and then launch something really authentic in January. Because that's where you really, if you launch in January, and I always say this to clients, if you launch in January, sales is always in an uptick in summer for most things, with the exception of like, I think in your line of work, it kind of goes down because everybody now needs to take their kids on holiday kind of thing. Now some people get busy, but a lot of people really do find a lot of success launching in January because everyone is on this new thing, new year, new me. How often do you hear that? So when you launch in January, it's such a normal thing, and people are more willing, they're more open in January and February to kind of go, oh, yeah, let's absorb all of this new stuff. They're not necessarily going to have the money to buy in January, February. But if you build your brand awareness, January, February, March, April, May, June is where you start picking up those sales. And that's why I always tell people, if you do it for the 6 months, you'll see those 6 months in particular, you'll see a much better uptick, and you'll actually see a much better return on investment for the time and effort you put into your organic brand awareness during those months. So that's why I always say, if you launch in January, just keep going for 6 months, because by the time you hit March, or those people have they have already seen it. They're starting to trust you, so then they can buy within the second quarter of the year. And then third quarter, depending on what you do, you may be a little quieter, because third quarter is a quiet quarter for a lot of industries. Whereas there's a huge thing in the world where some go up and some go down within that third quarter, because that's summer, and it does depend on exactly where you are. So for instance, weddings, there's a slight peak at the beginning of the quarter, but then there's a massive drop at the end, because nobody really wants to get married in baking August or end of September. Like, it's not really their thing. It's more April, May, June, those kind of months. But again, you do find people who do it because they now have time off. And that's where it comes into July and stuff like that. But as I said, like, there's loads of industries that kind of have that balance, and then it all kind of balances itself out throughout the rest of the year. So
it's just interesting because it's just kind of anecdote, but in Czech Republic we have for a very long time, we didn't have any weddings, and it was like almost like superstitious, don't have the wedding in the May. Yeah. And the reason was historically because the announcement about the weddings was after Easter, because the Easter in the Czech was that time when people kind of proposed to each other as the part of the Easter tradition. So then was the 6 weeks of what we call announcement, and then afterwards weddings. And historically, when we look even further back, the reason behind that was because if people get married, they will start to have children. And if the children are conceived in the June, they will be born in spring. But if they are conceived in May, they will be born probably in the January, February, which is the hardest time of the year. It's a coldest time. So kind of naturally, like things working for 1,000 years something. So actually the summer weddings like June, July, August, very common in Czech, exactly.
Yeah.
Holiday, it's sunny, it can be outdoor, it's probably will be, stuff like that. So it's always interesting how this works. And yeah, like I'm, for example, planning to do retreats next year for summer to kind of like build up that and use that time that will be already paid in that month before.
Yeah.
But knowing that not so much people people need to take time off for their holidays and stuff like that. So that's probably all we want to discuss about follow-up. But I'm so glad that it's really helped and that you are more focused. Sleep will improve as we focus on the pain, and that your body is relaxing and healing and amazing.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
for you.
when you think of it, right? Because a lot of people are probably thinking, well, why am I still having so much pain if I've already released all of this stuff? This is tension that has been held in my body for at least 20 years. That has only been released 2 weeks ago. So it's going to take some time for that to really heal. It's going to take some time for my body to process all of that. I've probably got toxins that have just built up there. So it's going to take a while for my lymphatic system to kind of get through all of that, process all of that. And, you were right. I did actually have, and I just remembered, I did actually have a bit of a low grade fever for a couple of days after. And I didn't actually really put the dots together until like 3 seconds ago. But it's probably because of that, because of course you're processing all of this stuff now. My body's just getting rid of all of this held in tension, all of this toxic stuff that's been sitting inside of my body and in my joints for such a long time. So yeah, it's going to take a little while, but I'll take it. Get on, because I feel great. I do feel great. Like, I feel amazing right now.
I mean, amazing.
I'm not wearing any makeup today.
Yeah, no, you're glowing. You look amazing. Yeah,
I know. That's why I'm like, I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm just like, no makeup, people. Like, there's no breakouts. There's nothing. I'm just like, yes, this is great. I'm, as I said, I feel amazing because I would have never, ever, ever gotten on camera before without putting makeup on. My God, no. I mean, it took me 3 years to even kind of warm up to camera work. And now I'm doing camera work with no makeup on. It's just, I've never felt this. Like even the day of our live stream, I was wearing foundation.
Yeah.
I'm always wearing foundation. This is my actual skin. Like, no foundation. You can see, got small blemishes, so you can see it's not airbrushed. No, but I mean, it's for authenticity. But it's amazing because now I just have this confidence where I'm like, do you know what? I actually feel really great, and I don't care. I just don't care. I don't care and I do care what my skin looks like, because obviously, we all care about our own image. And I will say that it's part of my brand. I need to kind of look put together, right? But for the first time in a really long time, I feel comfortable in my own skin. And that is a huge, huge thing as well. So if anybody is seeing this, like, if you've never done anything like this before, 100% contact Barb, because she will take you. If you've not seen the 2-hour video when you didn't see it live, it'll be uploaded soon, I promise, definitely this week. But honestly, go have a watch of it, because you will see how she very gently takes me through this. It's not scary at all. It is me being completely vulnerable, and I've given up that vulnerability to someone else. I've given somebody else the reins. Now, for somebody who's had such trauma that I've had, it's very difficult for me to give over that level of control. And I did, because I trusted Barb, and I knew that she would take me very gently through that process. And she did. She handled it with incredible empathy and such compassion. And that's what you need. When you find somebody who you can work with, who does stuff like this, you have to have that kind of connection with them. So book in for an intro call with her, speak to her. She's great. Honestly, you're in absolute great hands. So 100% go do this with her, because as I said, I feel amazing. And I'm not on Ozempic. I'm not taking any weird drugs. I feel great in myself because I have gotten rid of deep set trauma. So this is the best medication that you can ever find, because, it's great, because it's just me now. It's me minus trauma. It's great.
Just you, amazing, glowing, animated, cheering.
It's great. It's great. It's honestly, this is amazing. This is the best I have ever felt as an adult. I don't know. I don't remember too much about my childhood. I'll probably leave that exactly where that is, because I don't think I want to remember. But in terms of being happy and at peace with myself, and just being happy and healthy and content, everything within myself and at peace is just amazing. So if anybody can find that kind of medicine, that is the best thing. Like, forget drugs, forget alcohol, forget partying, forget distractions. Go do the hard work. Go do the hard work with Barb. Honestly, it is absolutely worth it.
Thank you. And I would just say it's working for any gender. Don't be disturbed that it's but it's absolutely working both for women and male. And I have a lot of male clients, and they just see this enormous change in their lives and their ability to succeed in their relationships, in their family. So it's for everybody. And at any age, I have the clients from 11 to my oldest was 82. It's never late. Never late to soon, and never too late to be best version of yourself. And then just you go and do whatever you want and just be, and you don't have to waste energy to some level on keep dealing with that past. Then you can be
absolutely. That's amazing. It's amazing stuff. As I said, I cannot recommend this more. So on that bombshell, I'm going to end today's live stream, because I will continue to just repeat the same thing over and over and over and drive everybody nuts. But as I said, just call Bob. Honestly, like, she's the trauma fix it person, and you need it. Everybody needs it. All right. Well, enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the next.
Bye. See you Nexus.